Just about the best off-season content you can get your hands on in the NFL is a good old-fashioned quarterback controversy. So despite the all-time example I put on the screen there, at the beginning, a quarterback battle is usually between a quarterback that is young but not ready to get the keys to the franchise versus a guy trying to stay in the show, a veteran, to quote Moneyball. And it often takes place on a bad team. And outside of that disaster in New Orleans, the two quarterback controversies the NFL kind of blessed us with this offseason are now officially solved for now, and I think both teams messed up royally. So let's explore the merits of the two least desirable starting quarterbacks in a while: Joe Flacco of the Cleveland Browns and Daniel Jones of the Indianapolis Colts. Man, I could do an hour on the Browns quarterback situation. It has been absolutely fascinating and also kind of revolting to watch unfold. They pass on Shedeur Sanders multiple times in the NFL draft this year and end up taking Dylan Gabriel, a short lefty from Oregon and Oklahoma. But then they end up taking Shedeur anyway, which many believe to be an intervention by ownership. They gave Kenny Pickett backup / bridge quarterback money. Oh, and they still have Deshaun Watson hanging around. They even brought in Tyler Huntley to be the 6th quarterback on the roster, technically. Shout out to the good folks over at ESPN Cleveland who have been tracking this race to the bottom like Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman and all the President's Men. Anyway, the Browns bring in all these quarterbacks and enter Flacco. There are usually two reasons for a quarterback in his late 30s to early 40s to become an NFL starter. Reason number one, previous greatness that a team thinks they can squeeze the last ounce out of. See Aaron Rodgers with the Jets and now with the Steelers. Russell Wilson's also an example. They don't still have it, really, but teams will take a flyer just based on pedigree. Kurt Warner actually got this strategy to pay off in 2008 with Arizona. He's probably the most successful example. Number two, incredible longevity that has made a player starting caliber for well over the average starter career length. See Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Flacco fits into neither of those categories. For those new to the sports media game, here's a brief history lesson. One of the great sports radio, sports talk debates of the 2010s was whether or not Joe Flacco was quote-unquote elite. And by the time the smoke cleared and the guns hit the floor, the consensus was that he was not, because he put together an incredible playoff run in 2012, and no one should take that away from him, but he was a consistent 20-something touchdown and double-digit interceptions guy who happened to play with one of the all-time great defenses at their last stand, and he cashed in. Awesome. But Flacco's peak was a mid-level starter. Flacco's never even been to a Pro Bowl, and those barely even mean anything more thanks to the guy at the bottom of the quarterback depth chart in Cleveland. And as for the longevity argument, I want to be very clear here. The league usually determines when a player is done, and the league is usually right. And Flacco lost his starting job to a rookie Lamar Jackson in 2018, almost 7 years ago. His peak statistical season was over a decade ago in 2014. He was a backup for the New York Jets for 3 years. But hey, 2 seasons ago, he won 4 out of 5 games for a Browns team with an incredible defense and lost them a playoff game. Throw the parade. I guess it speaks more to how low the standards are for Browns quarterbacks, and he seems like a nice guy, and he's the only guy who's come in and actually been kind of a winner for them, so I get it in that sense. It's not an outrage by any means that Flacco is starting. As a matter of fact, it excites me, because he, along with Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford, is all that's left of my childhood quarterbacks. I'm rooting for the guy. Let's be clear, the Browns are gaining absolutely nothing from this, except maybe some goodwill with the fan base who loves Joe Flacco, and they still have a lot of work to do in that department with Deshaun Watson still cashing guaranteed checks. But alas. My point is that Flacco in 2025 is barely good enough to be a backup, let alone a starter, and a presumptive starter the entire offseason. I think I could make a better argument to at least take a chance at the beginning of the season on the other zillion quarterbacks on the Browns roster. Kenny Pickett, still kind of young, looked decent last year in relief duty for, admittedly, a juggernaut in the Eagles. But check out this throw.
3rd and 12. Cowboys coming after him. Pickett retreating, stepping up. He's got Smith for an Eagles touchdown.
Shedeur, in my opinion, he should be the starter. I know he fell in the draft. I know half the organization probably doesn't want him. But he was awesome in college. See what you have. He's the most talented quarterback you have who doesn't have a settled sexual misconduct lawsuit. Dylan Gabriel, same argument as Shedeur. He's not as talented as Shedeur, but if you draft him over Sanders, you might as well see if there's anything there. You're not learning anything with Flacco as your quarterback. Even Tyler Huntley, Pro Bowler, right? Deshaun Watson's the only guy I can't make an argument for. They should probably just cut him. Point is, I don't think Flacco guarantees any more wins than the other quarterbacks on the roster, and he is the only one that doesn't need time to develop. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong happily, as it would be cool to see Flacco play well. I just can't believe the guy's a starter in 2025. There's 32 of these jobs. And he didn't even have to compete for his job. Granted, making a 40-year-old compete for a job is borderline cruel. So, okay, over to Indianapolis, where Daniel Jones is your new quarterback. This one just makes me sad more than anything. The Colts, they don't have a lot of world-class names, but they have good offensive personnel. Camp has really been high on Adonai Mitchell, who came out of Texas last year, was amazing in college. Josh Downs looks like a really solid player. He's put together two really solid seasons at least. Michael Pittman's consistently good. They just drafted Tyler Warren, who's a possibly generational tight end prospect, and they've still got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, one of the best backs in the league. Had a great year, quietly last year, and they have a good offensive line. They could really just use a guy who can get the ball out accurately and quickly. Remember when Ryan Tannehill took over for Marcus Mariota, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, the guy they picked up and will now be starting is Daniel Jones, a quarterback who struggles with accuracy all over the field. I can already hear the counter arguments. Oh, Anthony Richardson's the least accurate quarterback in the NFL. Then why'd you draft him? The Colts knew when they took Richardson 4th overall that it was going to be a project. He's got all of the physical tools and none of the refined skills. I understand that. The only way to get him to where they thought they could get him when they drafted him is to give him game reps. I look at this Colts roster and I see an 8 or so win team regardless of the quarterback, so why not just play the guy you drafted and can be potentially special given the reps and patience? If this is a job security thing, I think it would be a much bigger coup for Shane Steichen to show that he can get something out of Richardson rather than Daniel Jones. There's also this argument out there that Daniel Jones, like Anthony Richardson, also isn't a finished product. Come on, man. Daniel Jones got 6 seasons as the starter in New York. Yes, there were injuries. Yes, the Giants were and are a disaster of an organization. But let's be honest, when you close your eyes and think of a Daniel Jones play, it's him falling on his face at Lincoln Financial Field. I watched plenty of Daniel Jones, and I can say with the utmost confidence that I never saw anything that would make me think this guy could be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I personally love the trend of castaway first-round quarterbacks getting a second shot in the NFL lately. But again, let's be clear. Daniel Jones has not shown the flashes that Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold did early in their careers. He's not even the blue-chip prospect those guys were, despite being drafted also 4th overall somehow. The other obvious example is Geno Smith, who didn't show a lot with the Jets. He had to sit and be a backup for a long time before he got his second shot. He had to learn. And I would suggest that Daniel Jones do the same. Let's get even more honest about Daniel Jones. Giants fans were about as hostile toward drafting him in the top 5 as is possible for a team drafting a quarterback in the top 5. The Danny Dimes nickname was given ironically as a method of talking themselves into him so they didn't feel like they were wasting their time. They gave him that contract because they felt like they had to, and because it took him forever to develop into something, and that something didn't last more than a year. I wish the guy well, I really do, but no matter how bad of an indictment this is on Anthony Richardson standing within the Colts organization, and it is bad, I think you still should play your 23-year-old cyborg of a quarterback. So that's my 2 cents on the 2 quarterback battles as we head into 2025. I'll also say this. I expect pretty much every quarterback, probably outside of Huntley, that I've mentioned in this video to get some game time this season. While I think the decisions to start Flacco and Jones are baffling to start the season, I know for a fact they are not set in stone in perpetuity. We'll get a read on all these guys. Maybe I'll be wrong, maybe I'll be right. Hopefully I won't have to talk too much about the Browns or Colts over the next 6 months. Football season is almost here, so let's just appreciate that. Please like and subscribe, turn your notifications on, and I will see you next time.